Welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Englund, and I'm one of many volunteers that help create programming for our station. NACTV can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 17, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as by donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your NACTV experience, please consider supporting us by either donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at NACTV at wcgwave.ca. The Neepawa Banner and Press, Friday, January 31st, 2025. Our first article is Neepawa Inching Closer to City Status by Ken Waddell. The Neepawa Banner and Press has obtained an early look at the preliminary census figures for population growth in cities and towns throughout Manitoba. This survey, conducted by Statistics Canada, provides a statistical portrait of the country's growth over a 4 to 5 year period. For the town of Neepawa, while population growth has dipped from its lofty numbers in the 2016 and 2021 census, we continue to see a healthy rise in local residents. A recent newsletter from the Prairie Mountain Health contained an update on the Neepawa Hospital construction schedule. Construction on the new Neepawa Health Centre is approximately halfway through completion. The building is sealed and watertight, with nearly all of the exterior building envelope completed, including cladding, masonry, and roofing. Work to develop the 39-acre site, including a new heliport, is progressing nicely. Landscape development, paving, and curbs for parking lots are now visible, with asphalt work to begin in 2025. In 2025, the primary focus will continue to be on the interior, building out all of the various hospital, clinical, program areas, and public spaces. It is anticipated the building will be turned over to Prairie Mountain Health in mid-2026 to begin several months of staff training, prior to seeing the first patient in the new facility in late 2026 or early 2027. Even though the opening is still 2 years away, questions have been posed as to what will happen to the old Neepawa Hospital. It was built in 1954 and has had several additions and renovations over the decades. People who work in the facility are anxious for the new hospital to open. The current hospital is cramped, has a wonky heating system, and is hard to maintain. That said, the chemo unit is relatively new and modern. The chemo unit and some of the other parts of the hospital have a beautiful view. The location is on prime real estate adjacent to the high school. A PMH spokesperson said, "No decisions have been made on the future function of the current Neepawa Hospital. PMH will review possible options once the new hospital is open." This is familiar language to residents of Neepawa and area, being almost exactly what was said back when the old Eastview Lodge facility was being replaced by Country Meadows Care Home. PMH officials promised that the EVL site and building would be given to the town of Neepawa. That made sense, as EVL was built by Neepawa and area and was financed by a CMHC mortgage beginning in the late 1960s. EVL and Neepawa Hospital were given to the PMH at the time in the 1990s when health regionalization replaced the local hospital boards. In addition, a $1 million trust fund for the Neepawa Hospital that is administered by the Beautiful Plains Community Foundation was in the deal as well. When EVL closed, PMH's intentions were overturned by the province as they dithered and pondered about the future of EVL. The town of Neepawa had at least one developer who was willing to convert the 120-bed facility into 50 units of low-income housing. The province delayed and delayed, let EVL decay, turned the heat off, pipes froze, and in the end, EVL was demolished. All the town of Neepawa got was bare lots on a hill that still isn't fully developed. In the bluntest of terms, Neepawa and area was lied to by the province of Manitoba. That history raises concerns about what will happen to the current hospital, and given the answer from PMH, there is good reason for Neepawa and area to get busy with some ideas of what stance they want to take on the fate of the old hospital. Should it be repurposed? Should it be demolished? If the cost of demolition was spent on repurposing, would that result in a usable asset? Will the land revert to its proper owner, namely the town of Neepawa? And what about the ambulance garage that is located at Country Meadows? The ambulance garage is not administered by PMH, but by Shared Health. A spokesperson for Shared Health answered that question as follows. As part of the new Neepawa Hospital, there will be a 2-bay ambulance bay for the purposes of dropping off and picking up patients sheltered from any adverse environmental conditions. This aligns with the infrastructure in place at larger regional sites across the province. The current EMS station that is co-located with the Country Meadows PCH will remain as it is currently and is unaffected by the new hospital build. No ambulances will actually be stationed at the new hospital. And Neepawa's population increase slows down compared to 2021. The chart to the right shows the change in population for towns and municipalities in the Neepawa banner and press coverage area. Some numbers are up, and unfortunately, some numbers are down. For 2024, the estimated population of Neepawa stands at 6,223. That's an increase of around 6.1% from the official population figures of 2021. Just a note for keen-eyed observers that the 2021 statistics stated now are different from what was stated when first released by StatsCan back in 2021 and 2016. For example, the census enumerated a population for Neepawa of 5,685 in 2021, up from 4,609 in 2016, a 23% increase. However, the official population in each year includes an adjustment for the census undercount. Thus, the annual demographic statistics for Neepawa show, after an adjustment for the census undercount, a 2016 population of 4,743 and a 2021 population of 5,846, an increase of 23%. The estimated undercount in 2016 was 4,743 minus 4,609 equals 134 persons, an estimated undercount of 2.8%. And the estimated undercount in 2021 was 5,846 minus 5,685 equals 161 persons, an estimated undercount of 2.8%. Stats Canada says, after each census, to determine how many individuals were missed or counted more than once, Statistics Canada conducts post-census coverage studies of a representative sample of individuals. Results of these studies in combination with the census counts are used to produce population estimates, which take into account net undercoverage. This is a very important exercise at the national level and at the provincial level, as these official population estimates are used for federal transfers to provinces that pay X number of dollars per capita to each province. In an interview with the Neepawa Banner and Press, Neepawa Mayor Brian Headley discussed these preliminary numbers and said, "The increase in Neepawa is very good news. I am a bit surprised it isn't a bit higher. The population increase places pressure on infrastructure costs and maintenance along with housing. The town of Neepawa has launched a major land purpose for a housing initiative. An open house is scheduled for February 4th from 5 to 6 p.m. at the town office, where ratepayers can get a first look at the proposal. Editor's note: city status in Manitoba is met by a community reaching 7,500 people in population. This status was altered from 10,000 back in 1998 to grant that status to Dauphin as part of the 100th anniversary of its incorporation. And back to the front page, more than just a sponsorship. New co-op naming rights deal announced for Gladstone Community Centre. Effective immediately, Gladstone's District Community Centre will be known as the Co-op Community Hall. Inset picture: Co-op General Manager Brian Headley, MP Dan Mazier, MLA Jody Byram, and Westlake Gladstone Mayor Daryl Shipman, by Owen Devereaux. In the next 5 years, a familiar facility that for many is the heart and soul of Gladstone will go by a brand new name. Neepawa Gladstone Co-op has secured the naming rights for the Gladstone District Community Centre. Effective immediately and until the year 2029, the building will be known as the Co-op Community Hall. The 5-year naming rights deal is worth an estimated $50,000. The new co-op oriented signage and branding throughout the facility were recently installed. On top of that, an official unveiling event was held on Saturday, January 25th. Representatives from the town of Gladstone, as well as the co-op and regional dignitaries, were all on hand for the announcement. Many community members also attended the festivities, which featured a free pork on a bun lunch, children's activities, and a prize giveaway. The story continues on page 7. Co-op General Manager Brian Headley expressed how excited the cooperative is to be associated with a facility. Headley noted that Community Hall serves as a tremendous gathering place for the entire Westlake Gladstone region, and having their name associated with that means something to them. The co-op is all about community, and there's a great example of it right here. Our membership is local, our governing board is local, everything is local. So we always try to support a lot of events within those communities, within our communities, said Headley. Meanwhile, Westlake Gladstone Mayor Daryl Shipman expressed the community's gratitude for co-op's commitment. He also noted that this support will help maintain the hall for years to come. The co-op's support will help defray some of the costs of regular maintenance and cleaning, painting, repairs, and replacement of worn-out tables, chairs, and equipment. This saving will allow Council to put those dollars into other services and programs that will benefit all the ratepayers through the municipality, Shipman said. Neepawa Gladstone Co-op has been a staple in the municipality of Westlake Gladstone for over 95 years, and this edition of the Co-op Community Hall shows their ongoing commitment to investing in the municipality. On page 2, an opportunity to weigh in. Town of Neepawa is to hold open house for phase 1 of large-scale housing development. Pictured is a portion of the land that is included in the overall scope of Project 320 in Neepawa by Casper Wareham, Neepawa Banner and Press. The opportunity to weigh in on a large-scale project is coming to Neepawa next week. On Tuesday, February 4th, an open house will be held in the town office at 275 Hamilton Street regarding phase 1 of what is formally dubbed as Project 320. Project 320 refers to an overall purchase of 320 acres of land by the town in 2024, located in the northwest corner of this town. Phase 1 of this undertaking focuses on 58 acres of this land west of Neepawa's water tower for the purpose of implementing a layout of mixed-use residential lots. The open house allows for an explanation of what types of housing are being included in Phase 1 and give the chance for feedback on the plan, said Economic Development Officer Marilyn Crew. Crew added, Neepawa residents are encouraged to participate in the open house. The mixed-use residential concept plan was created by CSUN Blackbird Consulting Incorporated in cooperation with the town and using Neepawa's housing study data. A representative from SBC will be in attendance at the open house. The housing study, which was conducted prior to the initial land purchase, showed that Neepawa would need 460 new housing units by 2028 to meet the demands currently present. In conjunction with these statistics, crew provided further explanation on the overarching plan for Project 320. From an overall project perspective, Council has determined that the focus for 200 acres of the land will be for mixed-use residential, with the remaining 120 acres reflecting other community needs that will ensure that commercial, institutional, and industrial development is properly sited and provides space for these varying land uses, crew explained. To provide input on Project 320, Phase 1, all are encouraged to attend the open house at the Neepawa office on Tuesday. The open house will be held from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. There's a picture in the bottom left with a map showing a portion of the Neepawa area. The white outline indicates the 320 acres that were previously purchased by the town. The plan for 58 of those acres is to be discussed at the upcoming open house. Preparations for Hamilton Street expansion begin. Bid for excavation of area accepted by Neepawa Town Council. Portions of dirt have started to be removed from the land that has been set aside for the expansion of Hamilton Street on Neepawa's east end. Rempel Backhoe and Gravel was recently awarded that contract from the town of Neepawa by Owen Devereaux. The trucks are rolling and the work is underway on the first stage of Neepawa's ambitious expansion plan for Hamilton Street. Town Council has accepted a bid from Rempel Backhoe and Gravel Limited for the excavation of land. This work will allow for the future extension of Hamilton from Broadway Avenue going east to the top of the hill. 5 contractors within our area were invited to submit bids. Rempel's was one of 3 bids submitted and considered for this proposal, which is exclusively focused on the excavation and hauling of the materials from the area. The work that will be done will see 25,000 cubic meters of soil taken away from the site and removal of some oak trees. The actual road construction will be put out to tender in a separate bidding process. I broke this apart from the whole entire road construction just because there was so much excavation work on this one, and I didn't want to do it during spring or summer because of the burden of heavy trucks and pedestrians and kids running around. So I thought off-season would be better, explained Manager of Operations Denny Saquette. So for what we will pay a little bit higher in the construction costs for removal right now, I think we will gain, hopefully, by not destroying our streets with trucks driving around. The accepted bid from Rempel Backhoe and Gravel Limited was for $246,526 plus GST. The work began late last week. The Beautiful Plains School Division is holding kindergarten registration for the 2025 fall term. Please register at your school in Neepawa, at Hazel M. Kellington, at J.M. Young in Eden, at Brookdale, or at R.J. Waugh. To call the Neepawa Settlement Services 476-2055 for newcomer families. On page 4, right in the center by Ken Waddell, Wisdom and Comfort. The Bible clearly states we are to pray for our governments at all levels. We have several layers or levels in Canada: school boards, municipal, provincial, and federal governments. Let everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. Consequently, whoever rebels against the authority is rebelling against what God has instituted, and those who do so will bring judgment on themselves. A quote from Romans 13, verses 1 and 2. And from 1 Timothy 2, verses 1 and 2. I urge then, first of all, that petitions, prayers, intercession, and thanksgiving be made for all people, for kings and all those in authority, that we may live in peaceful and quiet lives on all goodness and holiness. The above Bible verses are simple enough and straightforward. We are instructed that God establishes our governments and that we are to pray for them. What if we don't like our government? The verses still apply. What about evil governments like Nazi Germany? I am sure many millions of people prayed through those horrific times, and we can be thankful that as bad as things are now, we aren't suffering from the effects of the Nazis. That said, if ever our generation needed to pray for our government, it's now. I think we are in for tumultuous times. With the bombardment of information we endure in this age, we know instantly when things happen, be they good or bad. I doubt that any era that people have known more instant information than we do today. If a butterfly flaps its wings in Thailand, we can be told about it instantly, in full color and with sound. The internet has been harnessed by news media companies, by internet influencers, and by political movements to mold us into their image. But we are not created in their image. We are created in God's image, and that is the image that we must imagine, the image we need to pursue. The United States has just gone through a transformational election. The previous government, the Democrats, had taken the country in a direction that has been solidly rejected by the voters. Canada is about to go through what may be a transformational election. The current government, the Liberals, have taken the country in a direction that may be solidly rejected by the voters. Polling would indicate that to be the case. We need to pray for Canada and the United States. Prayer will do many things, but two come to mind. One, prayer reaches out to God to extend His mercy and wisdom to governments. Two, prayer gives us comfort when it seems that the world and our world is crumbling. In the coming months, may our governments deal wisely and decisively with the issues of the day. In both Canada and the United States, there has been a lack of wisdom and correct decisions for a number of years. Change is coming at us like a tidal wave. May God bring mercy and wisdom to governments and comfort to us all. Homebodies by Rita Friesen. The pendulum swings. As one ages, we notice that the old becomes new. I'm old enough to have met wide-leg jeans and bell-bottom trousers 3 times. What has caught my attention is the tiny house movement, possibly because now that I have canceled television and rely on my smart TV for entertainment, that is one of the free channels. The program is interesting, and I firmly believe there is a need and a place for tiny homes. Reflecting on the movement, the words of Malvina Reynolds, sung by Pete Seeger and hitting the top of the charts in 1963, "Little boxes all the same." They were both aware of the conformity and consumerism of the times and voiced their opinion. What does strike me that the tiny boxes they referred to were not all that tiny, basic single-family bungalows that all looked just the same. Like the houses in many a Canadian city built to provide homes after the Second World War. In comparison to new builds today, they were tiny houses. In comparison to the settlers' homes at the turn of the century, they were palatial. A true tiny house would be a log cabin, chinked with mud and manure, some as small as 12 by 20, that provided a home for an entire growing family. For those that didn't have access to trees, they built a semlin, a subterranean sod hut. For those, one dug down several feet, using the sod to build up the walls. They varied in size, most commonly 15 by 35, with about 15 square feet reserved for the livestock. A sod roof that dripped when it rained, perhaps a waxed paper window, and a growing family. Now that's a tiny house. Remember that both the Mennonites and the Ukrainians, the ones most likely to live in a sunken sod home, had large families. The move today to a tiny home includes indoor plumbing, often a washer-dryer unit, a fridge, and a stove. The units are clean, have windows, private or at least semi-private sleeping quarters. I am certainly not ready to live in a tiny house. When I moved from the acreage to town, I referred to my current home as a small house. It's not. Some of the floor plans for what is termed a tiny house compared to the 3-bedroom bungalows that farm families embraced as modern, spacious, convenient homes, and they are small in comparison to many of the new builds. Part of this trend now includes the term granny pod, a small self-contained unit on the big yard. I'm old enough to remember those too. A small tiny house where an aunt or uncle or grandparent could live with a degree of independence. Meals could be shared with the family, as could some childcare. That was before we had the convenience of old folks' home or long-term care facilities. Grandparents and children truly knew each other, the elder accepting the help of the younger, and the youngster reaching out for comfort and cookies when home got hectic. The pendulum swings from that which was old is new, for there are a few other old habits and customs I would love to see return. Faithfully Yours by Neil Stroschein. It's time for us to act. King Solomon had everything any successful person could hope to have. He had position. He was king of the most secure kingdom of his time. He had possessions. The Bible tells us that his drinking vessels were made of gold. Nothing was made of silver because it was considered nothing in his day. See 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 22. In other words, he had money to burn. He also had power. He wasn't a great military leader, so he used his skill in making business deals to increase his wealth, often at his neighbor's expense. But the hype and glitter of Solomon's kingdom could not hide its fatal flaw. They had an imperfect king who ruled over an imperfect kingdom. This despite the fact that they had just dedicated a beautiful new temple in Jerusalem, setting it apart as the place where God lived among his people. It had a full staff of priests, worship leaders, and teachers who could offer sacrifices, lead people in hymns of praise, and help them learn how to apply the law of Moses to their daily lives. Solomon and his people had it all. But the glitz and glitter of Solomon's kingdom could not hide its fatal flaw. They had an imperfect king who ruled over an imperfect people. No one understood that better than Solomon himself. So in his prayer of dedication for the temple, he admitted that there would be times when the people would ignore the teaching they had received, sin against God, and suffer the consequences. When that happens, Solomon said, and the people turn to this place and call to you for help, then hear their prayers, forgive their sins, and save them. God's response is found in 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14. He assured Solomon that whenever the nation found itself in crisis, if my people who are called by name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, I will hear from heaven, will forgive their sins, and will heal their land. Solomon's prayer and God's response have been a challenge to people of faith ever since. They call us to times of sober reflection when we ask ourselves how much we have contributed to the crises that our nation experiences. Let me explain. As Canadians, we rely on local, provincial, and national governments to do for us what we cannot, as individuals, do for ourselves. In return for these services, we agree that governments can collect taxes on our income, on the value of the goods we consume, and on the value of real property like our homes. As long as governments use our tax dollars to provide essential services, and as long as we can see that we are getting good value for our money, we have no objection to paying taxes to cover these costs. But we have demanded more from governments, and they have promised to give us what we want. But what we want costs money that the government doesn't have, or so they say. So to get that money, they must either raise taxes or borrow funds to cover their deficit. They have been doing a little of each for at least 50 years. Now we are facing a financial crisis, a condition for which, in my view, we have only ourselves to blame. It's time for us to act. We must take the words of 2 Chronicles 7:14 seriously, repent of our selfishness and greed, and ask God to forgive us and heal our land. Gladstone Market Report by Tyler Slawinski. Howdy cattle producers. This is Tyler Slawinski reporting from the Gladstone Auction Mart for Tuesday, January 28th. It was a milder week, making working outside a little more enjoyable. With better weather, there were many cattle being trucked across the prairies into the markets. This week has many cattle producers taking full advantage of the strong cattle demand, and we all know how volatile the market can be, especially if the what's ifs actually become reality. Although it seems like the exact opposite of what should be playing out, the more caution is discussed, the higher the market and the stronger the demand. The cattle futures were very strong once again today, and the front row was in full attendance, setting more record prices. We sold 1,672 head of cattle through the ring in Gladstone, Manitoba on January 28th. Cows and bulls are trending with higher averages. Feeding type cows and heiferettes are still selling stronger than yielding cows. Yielding cows still traded quite reasonable from 170 to 185, looking like strong demands. Feeding type cows are ranging between 186 to 200. Bulls traded steady, ranging between 195 to 214. With these prices, it's not hard to see why many of these young feeding type cows aren't getting a second chance. The cow herd isn't growing very quickly, and we are finally starting to see some optimism in the industry. All classes of cattle sold well. Plainer type cattle are still being discounted. Here is a look at the feeder market. Some highlights from the sale. Charolais steers weighed 320 and traded for a fantastic $700 per pound. Black and red steers weighed 415 and traded for $623. Crossbred steers weighed 574 and brought $519. Crossbred steers weighed 630 pounds and they hit $490.50. Mixed weight steers weighed 711 and they checked out at $449.50. Crossbred steers 843 pounds brought $390.25. Heifers, red heifers weighed 350 and traded for $600. Black hided heifers weighed 441 and brought $542.50. Crossbred heifers weighed 570 and made $459. Mixed heifers weighed 674 and traded for $419. And last but not least, a big set of 726-pound red and black hided heifers that rung the bell at $401. Hopefully that gives you an idea of how the market played out. Cattle producers, if you have cattle to market, give us a call to book your marketing spot and let us do our best to market your livestock. This is Tyler Slawinski reporting for the Gladstone Auction Mart. Thank you for being a part of our community. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Thumbs down to the closure of Alberta headquarters PV Mart, a hardware and farm supply focused on the hobby farmer and small acreage rural residents. But that gave livestock producers another option. Robert Smith, Edrons. Out of Helen's Kitchen, sewing and stew. At the museum, we have an old Raymond treadle sewing machine, and I have my aunt's old human treadle sewing machine. Since most old sewing machines are Singers, I wondered about these two makes. Who invented the sewing machine? There's no simple answer, for many inventors contributed features to this final successful product. I will mention a few of the main inventors. Barthélemy Thimonier was a French tailor who succeeded in creating a chain-stitch sewing machine and got a patent for it in 1830. Soon his factory had 80 of these machines that were being used to sew uniforms for the French army. Tailors who saw the new machines as a threat to their livelihood soon burnt down his factory. In 1846, an American, Elias Howe, patented a sewing machine that introduced a needle with an eye at the point, a shuttle to create a lock stitch, and an automatic feed. His was the first one that worked properly. American inventor Charles Raymond's first sewing machine production paused in 1852 when Isaac Singer obtained a similar patent ahead of Raymond. When a patent fight rose, he packed up and moved his sewing machine factory to Guelph, Ontario, as Singer's patent held no authority in Canada. The Raymond sewing machine stands and covers were a work of art and a lovely piece of furniture for your room. The one at the museum has beautiful designs in the wood case and is a very striking piece. At this time, patent infringement became so intense that it led to sewing machine wars. The lawyers were making all the money. Since sewing machines required parts covered by several different patents, an agreement was made with the larger players that a single, reduced licensing fee would be charged and divided proportionally among the patent holders. In 1851, Isaac Merritt Singer patented the most practical sewing machine. As an engineer, he improved upon several of the other designs. He combined Howe's eye-pointed needle and up-and-down needle mechanism, added a pressure foot to hold the cloth in place, a basic tension system, and a foot treadle instead of a crank. The foot treadle allowed users to operate the machine hands-free, while the vertical needle movement provided more precise and consistent stitching. Singer began mass-producing his sewing machines and became the largest sewing machine manufacturer in the world. The Singer Company initiated the installment payment plan for their machines. People who could not afford to purchase a sewing machine could now get one. In 1903, the Wright brothers made their first successful flight using the plane's wing coverings which had been made on a Singer sewing machine. Singer began to sell at a discount to schools and to provide free sewing manuals. The philosophy was, if a girl learned to sew on a Singer, she would eventually buy one. It was not long before Singer was a name known around the world. My aunt's human parts were made in China, and the machines were assembled by the Human Sewing Machine Company in Edmonton and Toronto. Apparently, it could even sew farmers' binder canvases. I learned to sew on a Singer treadle and now sew on a computerized sewing machine with an automatic needle threader. I had 2 free days last week, so I made this stew for the slow cooker and tried a muffin recipe before sitting down at my sewing machine. A glorious 2 days. Neepawa Newcomers Coat Room 2024 Season Review by Casper Warehan. The volunteer staff of the Neepawa Newcomers Coat Room had a very busy season throughout the past year, helping individuals and families experiencing their first Canadian winter get matched up with their very own coats. The photo above was taken during the initiative's pop-up coat room held in November of 2024. The Neepawa Newcomers Coat Room saw a successful 2024. In a season review provided to the Neepawa Banner and Press, the local initiative noted that it was able to run 2 fully booked coat room weekends in October, as well as 6 pop-up coat rooms in November, December, and then January of 2025. Both community and newcomer response was incredibly positive, said NNCR President Liesl Milligan. The 2024 coat room results. Winter coats given to newcomers in 2024, 305. 79 went to children under the age of 15. 98 went to women of age 15 plus, and 128 to men 15 plus. Volunteers who helped run the coat room and pop-ups totaled 41. New winter coats sponsored by the community groups and members, 58. Writer's note. Of the coats in their 2024 stock, approximately 40% were purchased, 134 in total, which included the 58 sponsored coats. The remaining 60% were donated. Just as important was the report of countless smiles and welcomes exchanged throughout the coat room initiative. Milligan noted that due to the overwhelmingly positive response, the coat room inventory is currently low. As such, the coat room is now closed for the 2024 season and preparations begin for the next year. As we apply for grants and seek donations moving forward, we anticipate a replenishing of inventory in preparation for the next season. We are already looking forward to that, Milligan enthused. Thank you for your continued support of the coat room. We are proud to add a small contribution to our amazing community that works for and welcomes many newcomers. The coat room accepts donations year-round. Further details can be seen on its social media. Changes announced to planned co-op travel center project in Gladstone by Owen Devereaux. The major project in the works for the Neepawa Gladstone Co-op in 2025 is going back to the drawing board. On Saturday, January 25th, management with the cooperative updated the community members in Gladstone on the proposed construction of a 23,000 square foot travel center. The new proposed facility, which was first announced in 2023, was to combine the food, home, and building centers all at one location. It's to be built around the land where the current C-Store gas bar is located. That property was initially purchased by the co-op back in 2000. Co-op General Manager Brian Headley offered a brief update on the proposal and where it currently stands. Headley noticed that the co-op faced an adverse economic shift in 2023, along with several challenges in 2024, some of which included glyphosate fertilizer pricing devaluation, depressed food margins, high inflation rates, and an increase to the overall operating costs. Due to these issues, as well as uncertainty related to American tariffs being imposed on Canadian goods and Canada's response, the scale of the project has now been reconsidered. The above-mentioned items in 2023 and 2024 have negatively impacted our financial performance and capacity to finance this project at its current state and requires changes to the overall scope of the project. 2025 could also bring adverse impacts to our business given all the uncertainty, said Brian Headley. Estimated construction costs for the proposed project have come in substantially higher than originally projected. This will result in a change in the project's scope. A reduction in the square footage is needed to lower the overall cost of the project. Headley stressed that the project is still proceeding, but will be slightly smaller than the original expectation. Part of that includes the lumber and hardware stores being removed from the new development and remaining at their current location in downtown Gladstone. Meanwhile, the motel and quick service restaurant are still under consideration and may become part of the future phases of the project. When it comes to the plans for the grocery store, Headley stressed those are still proceeding and will be a massive improvement on what's currently available in Gladstone. The grocery store will be one of the newest designs, and we're hoping to keep it around that 16,000 square feet, which will still be a large facility, much larger than our current space, which is, I believe, just under 4,000 square feet. With a large portion of prep work and analysis already completed, this project will not have to begin all the way back at step one. The redesigned store will be resubmitted to the Federated Cooperatives Limited for review. Once that review is complete, Co-op will provide the community with updated information. Parking space decrease denied in Neepawa. An aerial image shows the space that was requested to be converted away from parking spaces outlined in white in Neepawa near Grit Force Fitness, the Salvation Army, and Harris Pharmacy by Owen Devereaux. A request to reduce the number of required parking spots for a proposed downtown development in Neepawa has been denied. Town Council reviewed the application of Zen Developments Limited during a meeting held at the municipal office on Tuesday, January 21st. Zen was asking for a decrease in the number of mandatory parking spaces for its proposed commercial development that it has planned for 342 Mountain Avenue. They wanted the number to be changed from the required 44 off-street spaces to 34. As part of the application process, this request was distributed to all nearby property owners to give them a chance to respond. There were 3 respondents, all expressing their concern to reduction of available parking in the area. They were worried that approving the alteration to parking would create too much congestion in such a small space and hinder walking paths for pedestrians along the block. Council reviewed the application, taking the public response to the reduced parking proposal into consideration. They voted to deny the request to decrease the number of off-street parking spaces, citing was just too large an amount to eliminate within the downtown core. Sydney home succumbs to fire. The Austin and McGregor fire departments were dispatched to the structure fire on Cypress Street in Sydney on Saturday, January 25th at 8:35 p.m. When Alpha 1 arrived on the scene, it was observed there was fire from the roof of the attached garage, which quickly spread to the attic of the house. Strong winds fanned the flames. Neepawa campsite bookings moved to new website by Casper Warehan. Camping enthusiasts looking to book into Neepawa's Riverbend Park will notice some differences this year. That's because the town of Neepawa now has a fresh website to handle the bookings, which is expected to make the process run smoother. As of November 2024, Neepawa's Riverbend Campground can now be found on the website Let's Camp. Our previous campground system dissolved, and I had a very positive experience with Let's Camp in previous locations, said Cassandra Groen, Neepawa's Director of Recreation Services. This booking system is also user-friendly, and swimming lessons can be booked in the same place. This simplifies things for campers who also utilize the swimming pool. Groen noticed that while this website is similar to other booking systems, this one has some added benefits for campers trying to plan a stay. This one has a great online support contact, is user-friendly, and lays things out in a very simple and organized way. There's also the option to view the sites in a grid style with what's available each week, or it can show it in a map layout with interactive boxes representing each site, Groen explained. She added, "We're confident that this site will be a good switch in many aspects and hope that it will be here long term for camping and swimming lessons." Neepawa's Riverbend Campground can be found on Let's Camp via the URL https://letscamp.ca/camps/Neepawa Riverbend Campground, or by doing a search on the website. Bookings are scheduled to open on this website for the 2025 season on April 1st. The photo shown here is a screenshot of the new website the town of Neepawa is using for campsite bookings. The town hopes that this new website will be more convenient for those who wish to enjoy the Riverbend Campground in Neepawa. Annual Tigers Fight Cancer fundraiser underway in Neepawa by Owen Devereaux. NACI students, along with parents and teachers, have joined together once again to support a worthy cause as the 5th annual Tigers Fight Cancer fundraiser is underway. Troy Brister, a coach for the NACI Tigers hockey team, said since 2019, this event has supported local cancer care programs through a variety of efforts from the players. He added those efforts have included a hugely successful progressive 50-50. This year we are doing the progressive 50-50, which the players started selling on January 21st. They are also doing a spare change collection at school to help raise funds. There will be a puck toss during the game to also raise funds, noted Brister. The team will also wear special pink jerseys in their game on February 14th versus the Minnedosa Erickson Chancellors. As part of the awareness efforts, the festivities will also feature a game day 50-50, with all of those proceeds also going toward fundraising efforts. Brister said that along with the enthusiasm of the players over these past 5 years, they have been very fortunate to have a community of parents each and every season step up to lead this effort. We are very grateful for the support the town shows during this fundraising effort, said Brister. For the past 2 seasons, the money that has been raised has gone toward Neepawa Health Center's chemo unit, Victoria Quilts, and Central Plains Cancer Services. As well, the hockey team has been able to start a fund at NACI for students and their families fighting cancer. Since 2019, the Tigers have donated $14,650 to cancer services, with each year more successful than the last. The team is hoping to keep that momentum going in 2025. Tickets for the progressive 50-50 can be purchased through any Neepawa Tigers player or by stopping at the NACI school office. In 2019, $750 was raised. In 2021, $3,000 was raised. In 2022, $5,400 was raised. In 2023, $5,500 raised. In June of 2024, picked members of the NACI Tigers hockey team 2023-24 were able to present 4 checks totaling $5,500 to Worthy Cancer Care. Those presentations included $2,000 for the chemo unit at the Neepawa Health Centre, pictured, $1,500 for Victoria Quilts Canada, the Neepawa chapter, $1,000 for Central Plains Cancer Services, and $1,000 for the establishment of an NACI fund to support families with children battling cancer. Tigers basketball play in Rivers. The Neepawa Tigers varsity boys and girls basketball teams traveled to Rivers on January 23rd to play a pair of Zone 7 league games. The boys team defeated Rivers 95-17, while the girls squad won 48-33. In junior varsity play, the Neepawa boys won on January 22nd against William Morton 57-33. Meanwhile, the junior varsity girls lost to William Morton 47-19. NACI Tigers defeat Killarney in Westman hockey by Owen Devereaux. The Neepawa Tigers are slowly but steadily gaining ground on the teams in front of them in the Westman High School Hockey League standings. The Tigers did themselves a huge favor in that effort by beating the league's second-best club, the Killarney Raiders, by a score of 4-3. This game was a matinee matchup at the Yellowhead Centre on Thursday, January 23rd. It would see the Raiders open up the scoring early, but then Neepawa's Wyatt Negaven would reply with a pair of goals just 56 seconds apart to make it 2-1. Those are Negaven's 23rd and 24th goals of the regular season. It appeared as though we'd go into the first intermission tied at 2-2, as Killarney scored once again with only 15 seconds in the first. But for the second straight home game, the Tigers finished with a flurry and scored with only 1 second remaining before the break. And as well, for the second straight time, it was Cohen Kilbacki who put away the puck, making it 3-2 after 20 minutes. For the second, both teams scored early as the Raiders tied it up once again, only 15 seconds into play. Cohen Kilbacki gave Neepawa the 1-goal lead a couple minutes later with his second goal and 4th overall point, 2G, 2A of the afternoon. Negaven was credited with the assist and ended the game with 3 points in total. Jude Carr, Zach Platt, and Carter Crookshanks also notched their names on the stat sheet by adding assists. Harley Smith-Belisle stopped 23 shots and picked up the win. The next day, Neepawa would be on the road for a game versus the Roblin Grandview Gilbert Plains Raiders. The Tigers put up a consistent 60 minutes of solid play and were rewarded with a 6-3 win. NACI ended up scoring a pair of goals every period to secure the victory. Wyatt Negaven and Brock Paslowski opened things up for Neepawa with goals in the first, while Cohen Kilbacki and Carter Crookshanks were the contributors in the second. Kilbacki added another in the third, with Luke Nicholson tapping one in as well, on a power play chance for the Tigers. It would be another win for goaltenders Harley Smith-Belisle, who faced a total of 24 shots. With this results, the Tigers improved to 15-7-1 on the season and just 1 point back of Verdun for 5th in the overall standings, with 3 games in hand. Neepawa is also just 5 points back of Killarney, who are 17-5-2. Unfortunately, it's likely nobody will be able to catch up to the top team in the WHSHL, the Vincent Massey Vikings, who are a perfect 23-0-0 this year. Titans power their way through difficult part of MJHL schedule. A picture, Neepawa's Carter McLeod looks to hinder the Winnipeg Blues goalie's line of sight during a game at the Yellowhead Centre on January 24th. The Titans and Blues played back-to-back games over the weekend, with Neepawa earning 3 of a possible 4 points in the standings. By Owen Devereaux. At the start of the MJHL season, everyone could have looked at the Neepawa Tigers' schedule of games for January and reasonably have said this stretch will either make or break their season. Well, it appears as though the Titans have passed through that stretch and remain unbroken. The first month of 2025 featured 8 games for Neepawa, with 5 of them versus the 3 best clubs in the entire league. In these 5 games against the Winkler Flyers, Steinbach Pistons, and Portage Terriers, Neepawa would earn 6 of a possible 10 points in the standings. With 1 game left in January, played after publication deadline, Neepawa has gone 3-1-3 and are tied for second place in the MJHL's West Division. Titans head coach and general manager Ken Pearson said, "While these last few weeks have been impressive for a long time, fans of the franchise, for those in the locker room, there is just the expectation to compete hard no matter who the opponent is. We looked at it like we do every game and just worry about the opponent that night. We always ask our guys for their best 60 minutes each night, and I think for the most part we got that," stated Pearson. "I believe that our guys are confident that if they play to the best of their abilities, it will give them a chance to win every night." The final game for the month for the Titans will be on Friday, January 31st versus the Swan Valley Stampeders, 9-26-4-1, 23 points. Start time at the Yellowhead Centre is set for 7:30 p.m. Neepawa Farmers Fall to McGregor by Owen Devereaux. The McGregor Wild have locked down at least 4th place in the Tiger Hills Hockey League's East Division with an 8-4 win over the Neepawa Farmers. Bryce Carrouter, 2 goals, 1 assist, and Preston McLeod, 2G, lead the way with multiple goals, while Drake Shepard, Clark Turner, Braden Klippenstein, and Declan Graham also scored for the Wild. Shane Byram, 2G, Brad Marshall, and Brett Lewandowski were the contributors for Neepawa, who now fall 3-9-1 on the season. With 3 games left on schedule and trailing by 7 points, the Farmers can no longer mathematically catch McGregor. The Farmers have 2 more home games left on the regular season schedule, February 1st against Deloraine and February 7th versus Killarney. The last game of the regular season for Neepawa will be Saturday, February 8th in Minnedosa against the Bombers. Neepawa Project 320 Phase 1 Open House will be held February 4th, 2025 from 5 to 6 p.m. at the Neepawa Town Office, 275 Hamilton Street. Join us at Town Office to see our mixed-use residential concept plan for Neepawa. Everyone is welcome. There's an obituary for Bernard Leonard Kreutzer. Funeral service will be held on Saturday, February 1st at the Zion Lutheran Church in Plumas at 2 p.m. and interment in the Tupper Cemetery. Snowmobilers take on Journey for Sight. Journey for Sight came to Neepawa on January 21st. The crew of the annual snowmobile fundraising event pulled in to refuel and partake of a lunch at the local Dairy Queen. Funds raised by Journey for Sight support the Lions Eye Bank of Manitoba. While at Neepawa, they were also greeted by Neepawa Lions members and received a donation of $200 from the Prairie Mountain Snowdrifters. The check was presented by Roy Globach and received by Todd Rathwell. Overall, as of Sunday, January 26th, a total of $31,000, not including donations directly to the Eye Bank, has been raised by Journey for Sight. A total of 12 sleds and 25 support crew are participating in the 2025 Journey for Sight. Neepawa Banner and Press Sponsor Night Winners. A picture, the Neepawa Banner and Press held a free draw at its sponsored Titans hockey game on January 24th. The winners of first, second, and third were Rob McDonald, Brad Monias, and Kevin Cook. Congratulations. Neepawa District Chamber of Commerce hosts its 125th AGM by Owen Devereaux. A celebration of a year of local business achievements took place on Monday, January 27th at the 125th Neepawa District Chamber of Commerce Annual General Meeting. The event was held at the Neepawa Legion Hall and saw an array of local businesses leaders assembled in a social setting to network. The evening also included some important information from both the Chamber as well as Neepawa Tourism on the year that was. Chamber President Pam Miller provided an update on some of the items of note from 2024. In terms of those local highlights, the Chamber lauded its successes with the Business After 5 events, the 4th Annual Restaurant Showcase, and the hosting of Manitoba Chamber of Commerce Economic Development Tour, which arrived in Neepawa back in September. One other item saw Jennifer Wiebe represent the Neepawa and District Chamber of Commerce at a Chamber Advocacy Day held at the Manitoba Legislature in December. As for what to expect in 2025, Miller highlighted a new Women in Business event that has been scheduled on April 4th. Additional information on this event will be announced in the near future. The financial outlook from 2024. When it comes to the details behind the Chamber's latest financial report, perhaps it's best to remember the old expression, "What a difference a day makes." A review of the numbers for 2024 indicates that the total expenses were $51,337 compared to an overall income of $47,707. That comes out to a financial loss last year of $3,630. The reason for this yearly loss can easily be pinned down on one specific item, or perhaps we should say one specific day, that being May the 24th, 2024. On that day, an unanticipated blizzard blasted through the region. Unfortunately, that day was also supposed to be the first day of Neepawa and District Chamber's annual fair. The inclement weather forced the cancellation of all Midway-related events for the day. That cancellation was seen on the bottom line for the weekend. As for 2024, the fair brought in $6,478, which is $3,217 less than the previous year. Had Mother Nature decided to be a bit more cooperative, the Chamber very likely would have been much closer to break even last year. Neepawa Tourism. Next up was a presentation by Neepawa Tourism, who have partnered with the Chamber at its AGM in the past 5 years. Board Chair Pam Brown shared some information efforts from tourism in 2024 to attract visitors to Neepawa, as well as a few of the challenges. First, Brown discussed the positives, which included a partnership with Tourism Manitoba to stage the ultimate Neepawa giveaway. This event saw a Winnipeg-based couple win an all-expenses-paid weekend in our community. The giveaway received positive feedback, both from the award winners and Tourism Manitoba. As well, the expansion of Neepawa Tourism's mural project continued, with local art pieces installed near Dairy Queen and Riverbend Park. Over the last few years, murals have been placed throughout the community, with 2 more planned for near the Taylor Law Office and Beautiful Plains Museum. The creation of a mural walking tour has also been conceived for the future. Tourism signage was installed at the new viewing towers. In closing, Brown also thanked Barb Bone for serving as a board member for Neepawa Tourism and chairperson of the training committee. Barb is one of the original founding members of Neepawa Tourism and is stepping down after several years of supporting the project. As for Neepawa Tourism's financial outlook, Neepawa's Economic Development Officer, Marilyn Crew, provided an update on behalf of the volunteer group. The tourism budget reported its total expenses last year of $18,808.75, while income of $22,405.36. Those results created a net profit of $3,596.61. While all those numbers are down slightly from the results of 2023, they remain a positive for the organization. Guest speaker, Business of the Year. This year's guest speaker was Bill Hogan, the Executive Director for Community Futures Westman. Hogan's speech discussed the role of CFW in promoting and assisting regional entrepreneurs through a variety of means. The final notable part of the festivities was the announcement of the Business of the Year. This year's recipient was Kinley Thompson's Chartered Professional Accountants Incorporated. A separate feature story on this business will appear in a future edition of the Banner and Press. Some things are priceless. Rural Committee prepares to celebrate 140th birthday of Polonia. Pictured here is the Huns Valley Post Office in Reuben Andres in 1899. Polonia was originally known as Huns Valley by Caspar Werhan. The unique history of a long-standing Manitoba community will be celebrated this year. This is Polonia, previously known as Huns Valley. Polonia is an unincorporated community in the municipality of Rosedale, located approximately 28 kilometers north and west of Neepawa, or 12 kilometers west of Eden. Come August, it will be celebrating its 140th birthday. Preparations for the celebrations are being spearheaded by the Huns Valley 140 Committee, with the event proper taking place on August 16th and 17th. Committee member William Smith told the Banner and Press that this celebratory project all sprouted from one simple question posed by Janice McCracken, a fellow committee member 1 year ago. How old is Polonia? With some quick calculations, we realized that it would be 140 years old in 2025. It didn't take long for both of us to realize that maybe we wouldn't be having the same conversation in 2035, said Smith. Polonia will be then 150 years old, but until then, all of us are getting older. Well, before you know it, Janice coined the phrase Huns Valley 140, as that's the name of the historic settlement our ancestors started in 1885. The settlement of the area was part of what was known as the Hungarian colonization, a movement which included individuals immigrating from Hungary, as well as those from countries that were under Austro-Hungarian rule in Europe at the time. On August 16th, 17 settler families were led by Baron Geza de Dory to the Stony Creek Valley. The area was christened as New Hungary and the post office named Huns Valley. Numerous families joined the community over time, and the area was eventually renamed Polonia. The history and stories of Polonia are vast and rich. Smith shared his own thoughts on the community with the Banner and Press. It has been said that the valley is the best kept secret in Manitoba, but hundreds of Canadians say when they drive back to visit Polonia, head down the hill, and see the beautiful valley that they feel at peace and they're coming home, said Smith. He added, activities were always centered around the church, hall, and the country store that I was raised in. We were always surrounded with family and celebrations. All the members of our Heritage Committee can relate the same story, and what better way to get together and share those precious keepsakes and memories that have been collected over 140 years. Some things are priceless. While the schedule for the celebration is still in development, the committee is arranging for homestead tours, ethnic entertainment, food souvenirs, and more to be available. Smith also noted that the early response to this event has been very promising. Our registration drive has overwhelmed us at times as we gear up to entertain hundreds of descendants of the first pioneers, said Smith. Providing a final comment, Janice McCracken added, it takes a great number of people and funding to host this type of celebration. We are so grateful to those who are contributing their time and talents in organizing this event, and to those who are volunteering to work at it. Also, without the sponsorship from businesses and organizations, it wouldn't be possible to make this weekend happen. The Huns Valley 140 Committee can be contacted via email at hunsvalley140@gmail.com or by calling or texting Janice McCracken at 204-476-0516. And finally, a picture in remembrance of Don Pryor. This photo is inserted in memory of the late Don Pryor. This year, January 31st, is the 20th anniversary of his passing. Pryor was a long-term staff member of the Neepawa Banner. He had an incredible eye for photography and captured many stories and memories that have been immortalized in the archives of the paper. We hope that the readers of this paper will take a moment to remember Pryor alongside his family and the Neepawa Banner and Press. The inset photo was originally taken as a commemoration of one of Don Pryor's photography-related achievements. In 2003, an edition of the National Post contained a feature on Neepawa, which he was requested to provide photos for. Several of his photos appeared in the feature. Thank you for reading the Neepawa Banner and Press.